Most shamanic journeys end up being a solitary journey of your own, whether you're the octopus with the colors displaying yourself and you're out there. It very rarely do you hear of people journeying with another mind being, not the body being, but a mind being. So in these journeys, whether you're in an elf realm or another realm, is there a reading between these other entities and you in your journey to their world or their space? I mean, is there a communication at all? And also, can you go with somebody from this realm out there, but on a mind plane, or as you described, the octopus type thing, where you're communicating not with words or dictionaries?
Well, it's hard to say. You know, Plotinus, who was a Neoplatonic philosopher, he described the mystical experience as the flight of the alone to the alone. And there certainly is an element in the psychedelic thing of its being so large a dimension that when you go into it, you not only see things that you have never seen before, and not only do you see things that no one else has seen before, but you see things which no one else will ever see again. So I tend to, and this is just my personal preference, and I'm a double Scorpio and a number of different things that push me in this direction, but I really like to do the deep work alone and then try to bring it back, and this is the proper domain for sharing and community. We know that the psychedelic, that behind 5 grams of psilocybin lies a psychedelic world. But how can we create a psychedelic world here and now on Zip? And the answer is by becoming ever more psychedelic ourselves. And so it's a tremendous empowerment for eccentricity. And basically my whole career is based on eccentricity. One of the most fearful questions to come my way is when I'm riding on airplanes to some situation like this, and someone sits down beside me and says, "So what do you do?" And I usually try to escape. I say, and this is always a horribly weak thing, I say, "Oh, I write books." And then they say, "Oh, well, what do you write books about?" And then we move into the realm of pure lie. I usually say, "Travel." I think if you have, to return to your question, if you have an extraordinary heart connection with someone, you can voyage together a certain distance. But this is a unique kind of thing, and probably many a relationship has experienced unnecessary strain because somebody thought they had that kind of connection, and then when they got out into the incoming psychic surf, they discovered one person forgot their tanks back on the beach. Yeah.
I need to clarify this. You said earlier, and I heard you say before, that behind 5 milligrams of one thing or 500 of another, there is a little green elf or something else. Is that a consistent picture for you? Not that the experience would not be new in terms of the communication, but is that consistent? Do you yourself find that same image or that same level of mushroom at that point? But then secondly, in terms of the people that you communicate with who do measured quantities and who do it similarly, say Rupert Sheldrake, have other individuals communicated that they see those same type of creatures, for lack of a better word?
Well, the answer is, if you send 10 people to Paris and then you interview them about their experience of Paris, one of them stayed with the wife of the prime minister, somebody else stayed in a bordello on the wrong side of town. Their notions of Paris are rather different. However, if you interview them closely enough, you can tell that this must have been the same place in some sense. For me, the DMT experience is remarkably consistent. It always is this dome, underground, filled with these self-transforming elf machine creatures, And then when I talk to other people and interview them about it, what I've come away with is the notion that an archetype is like a series of concentric circles. And to the degree that you reach the center of the circle, the accounts become more and more consistent. For instance, and in thinking along those lines, what I've come to see about, for instance, DMT, is that it has an archetype. And the archetype is, and God knows why, the circus. DMT is the archetype of the circus. So you give it to someone who is not psychedelically sophisticated, and you give them a low dose. Then they come back. Then you say, what was it like? This is a direct quote from a woman a couple of years ago. She said, it was the saddest carnival I've ever been to. She said, all the rides were closed. Nobody was there. There were just gum wrappers blowing between boarded up tents. I said, interesting. So then give it to someone else. And they said, it was full of clowns. And I said, you mean elves? He said, no, just clowns. And as the dose rises, the familiarity of the image is stripped away, and it migrates more and more toward this thing behind the mask. Well, now, if you think of the circus, it is an interesting archetype. First of all, 3 rings in constant activity. And it's a wonderful thing for children. Children love the circus because there's light and color and music and animals and, clowns. But then there's also a side to it which children don't see. I mean, you lift your eyes from the center ring, and there is Eros in the form of the beautiful blonde woman in the tiny spangled costume who works without nets hanging by her teeth far above the center ring. And twisted into this erotic image is death, because she works without nets. The whole point of her performance is the fact that she could fall and be killed. Well, then there's yet another aspect to this circus archetype, which is away from the lady in the spangled costume and the clowns climbing out of their little cars and the powdered elephants of many colors, are the sideshows that snake off into the darkness. The 2-headed lady, the goat boy, and the thing in the bottle. They're all there, too, to be looked at. So it's this incredibly rich amalgam of light, color, humor, childhood memories, cotton candy, joy, eros, death, the thing in the bottle, the wild animals, so forth and so on. And as you make your way toward it, different layers fall away.
Do you find a consistency with the... Do you find similar but different consistencies with LSD and with psilocybin that you could make as clear as the consistency that you find with DMT?
Oh, yeah. I think that, one of the great confusions about psychedelics is that they're all the same. Like in some textbooks, if you look up psilocybin, it will say a hallucinogen derived from fungi which causes LSD-type hallucinations. This is nonsense. This just simply means that LSD arrived first on the workbench of Western civilization, so everything is referent back to it. If you're going to take these things, you need to take enough that you can tell the difference. And at low doses, all psychedelics are the same. It's just the experience of agitation and psychic inner turmoil. It's sort of like speed, But as the doses increase, you begin to hit the bifurcation points. And these things have distinct personalities. For instance, DMT, the elf playroom reception area, that seems to define it. The amazing thing about psilocybin, and its distinguishing characteristic, is it speaks. It speaks in English to you. It conversationally approaches you, and you talk to it in your mind. I mean, this is an amazing thing. If you've never experienced it, there's something out there for you. Try it.
That's what was behind asking you that question, because I don't have any DMT experience. I've taken psilocybin just in the form of the mushrooms themselves in a botanical garden, and I don't have much other experience. And what happened was quite transformational in the long term, because it put me in touch with the plant world, but I didn't close my eyes. I had no other realm. It was the realm that was there in the garden. A communication, well, you said it last night, with the mind of that botanical area. The mind of that plant world that was there. It talked to me, it got translated into English, but it was kind of saying everybody should have very close to them a realm like this to be in, and people would be okay. Do everything you can to support that.
That's the message. And for instance, the mushroom has a personality, and like all personalities, it excludes some things and includes others. The mushroom personality is a radically eccentric personality. The mushroom talks about transforming the planet. It says, I come from a distant part of the galaxy. I have 500 million years of galactic history in my databanks. I have seen 50,000 worlds come into existence and pass out of existence. I've seen ships the size of Australia depart for Andromeda. I've seen this, I've seen that. And it's willing to show you the newsreels of it. That kind of and it says, your world is ending. Put your furry paw into my hand, and together we will march out to the stars. It's this dun, 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 dun. Well, so then you take a compound or a shamanic hallucinogen like ayahuasca. Chemically, this is very, very similar to DMT. Experientially, it could hardly be more different. Ayahuasca does not show you images of enormous machines in orbit around alien planets and that sort of thing. Ayahuasca, first of all, it doesn't speak. It shows. You become like the eye of a camera, flying through a world. And what it shows you, it's much more feminine. It shows you water flowing over the land. It shows you plant life growing and dying. It shows you the movement of glaciers over the surface of the land. It shows you people burying their dead. It shows you archaic civilizations. It shows you women nursing their children. It shows you meat. It shows you the stuff of this world on every level. And it moves you to tears. I mean, it's emotive. It's not about our cosmic destiny out there in the starry blackness. It's about coming to terms with the earth and our past and each other. And you say, these things, these are personalities, these are visions. And the idea is to fuse all of this into a single unitary perception that does honor to all and limits none. Back here.
Yes, I was fortunate to be able to have Christmas and one about well, there were people who were able to communicate with all types of plant life, and they see that each plant life has a beautiful message to bring. And they did talk about the mushrooms and saying that it does enhance the human immune system. Could you talk a little about that?
Well, yes, this is true. You probably all know or may have heard of what's called Rishigen or Ganoderma lucidum. This is a mushroom, a Chinese mushroom, that definitely stimulates the immune system. And many fungi probably have this quality because these higher fungi, the Basidiomycetes, have enough of a trace of their evolutionary depth to more primitive fungi, the kind that cause candida and vaginal fungus and stuff like that, the undifferentiated fungi, that the immune system recognizes this as a potential stimulant and responds to it. So this is definitely true. Yeah.
I just got this notion that maybe the Gödel's incompleteness theorem would explain the absence of the self, and we dive into it, and I thought maybe you'd get a quick answer or even a long answer about which is more real than the self and the other, or is the self the other, the one?
No, the self is the other. That's what I've come away. The self is the other. And assimilating the implications of that takes a lifetime. We have within us the very thing that we're seeking, It's like the Jungian fairy tale of the guy who leaves home and searches the world for enlightenment and has all these adventures and finally concludes that it is not to be found and returns to his home and rebuilds the hearth and discovers beneath the hearth the thing that he had sought in all the wrong places. I mean, it is within. It is a recurso. What we are looking for is within us. It's our own inner riches. This is why psychedelics are such a powerful antidote to capitalism, because they teach you that you are not a wannabe. You are where it's at. And nobody should allow you or sell you a different point of view to make you think you're going to be complete when you get a Maserati or a Rembrandt or something like that. All that is just the detritus of the physical world.
Would you say we're cycling at the same rate between self and other, or if there is such a thing, that everyone's doing it?
Well, I think that if we could really follow ourselves into dream every evening with full consciousness, that we would discover that we touch the philosopher's stone at least once every 24 hours. It's just that we return down the river of forgetting, lethe, and every morning we emerge from spending time with the other as self, and then we're inserted back into the fiction of our three-dimensional existence and our individuality. Don't forget your question. We'll come back and hammer on this a little more.